With 2.2 Liquid being announced, it's time to dive into the nitty and gritty of the Planetary Rework. This is going to be a series of 4 episodes, and we're going to be talking, like I mentioned, about the Planetary Rework. This is going to be a pretty long one, so let's sit in. Let's take a seat and let's talk about deposits, buildings, and districts. So before we dive in, we need to basically we need to start counting our eggs and basically explain why this is actually happening. In the past, the 22 maximum tile system has basically pushed the game into a certain niche, and it wasn't a very flexible system. And also, there were not very many interesting economic management decisions. And basically, the hard limitation of 1 pop and 1 building per tile apparently was kind of annoying to the devs. Basically, do you want to make a city planet with a large number of pops? Nah, you couldn't do that. You couldn't have a post-scarcity empire where robots do all the work. Yeah, you can't really do it without losing valuable building space. You could alter the tile system and whatnot, but it wasn't really the most practical way of doing it. Basically, the new system is something that's superficially similar to the old system, but it has none of its main advantages, although it has advantages on its own that are not held back by the drawbacks of the previous system. So, systems being designed. 4 points that are important. The new system must be able to simulate a wide variety of societies. Any society that you can think of. A food-based society, synthoids, anything that runs on metal and whatnot. A fundamental part of Stellaris is the role-playing, according to the developers at least, and the ability of getting vast different societies is very, very important to them, as already illustrated by the economic units that we talked about last time. The new system needs to offer more interesting choices about how to develop planets. So you can simultaneously reduce the amount of uninteresting micromanagement, such as mass upgrading buildings, which in the past may have given me a mild level of restrained, rapid restraint or whatever the thing is called. But basically it wasn't fun. The new system should make planets like places, or at least feel like places, where people actually live, rather than 25 tiles that just generate stuff. And finally, as we mentioned with the previous Dev Diary, when it comes to modification, it should be easy for both the developers to iterate and for modders to create new empires and playstyles. So, the new system, apparently, according to developers, vastly improves on the features in the game and basically opens doors that they wouldn't be able to open because the tile system was far too constraining. So, with that out of the way, let's talk a little bit about the deposits. Now, in the past, we had things like alien pets, Betharian stone, and whatnot. This is still in the game, but it's being handled differently. In the past, they were single clumps of resources on a tile, which would then be gathered by pop, and then determined what kind of buildings was to be the most efficient thing to put there. So in the new system, deposits are more like planetary terrain and features, with every habitable planet having a semi-randomized number of deposits, which larger planets usually having more, and that makes perfect sense. A larger planet, more resources, although there will probably be scenarios where you will find a tiny planet that is exceedingly rare and can have very interesting effects on your economy. The bigger the planet as well, the bigger the number of particular districts, which we're going to be talking about in a little bit, can be placed on the planet. So let's say you have the fertile land deposit on your planet. It means you can put a lot of farms there, and also it means that you can put multiple agricultural districts on that planet. So let's say you have 3 farmlands. You can put 3 agricultural districts on there for efficiency's sake. Not all deposits affect districts, so we have a couple of special ones. The ones that are being made here are crystalline caverns or Betharian fields, rare deposits that allow construction of special buildings on said planet. We're going to be talking about that as well. And they basically give yourself a passive benefit, and they don't necessarily use up that district. And a planet can have multiples of the same deposits, so you can go completely crazy when it comes to getting a couple of things on those planets. On top of that, deposits can show up on planets by its planet class. So an ocean world will have kelp farms, Arctic world will have fungal caverns, etc., etc., etc. Now, let's talk about districts. We already touched upon that in a little bit. The game will come with 4 types of districts. So a city district, where your pops are being housed and your infrastructure and all your tech is being produced. You've got your mining districts, which is a little bit of housing and mining. Agriculture, which is food, and generator, which is the energy credits that will fuel your economy. Now, a lot of things here in terms of districts is still a little bit vague. Basically, the total number of districts that you can build on is equal to its size. So a size 16 can have 16 districts in any combination that you want. So you can have a gigantic amount of mining districts, for instance. But the districts themselves are constrained by the amount of deposits on the planet. So you can only have districts as many as you have deposits for that particular type. So if you only have 8 deposits of mining stuff on the planet, that means you can only have 8 mining districts. City districts, however, are not limited to this, so you can easily cover the entire world in city districts for as many things that you can have in massive urban development and whatnot. There's a couple of special ones. Hive minds will get hive districts, and that's something that's going to be touched upon in a future dev diary. But yeah, planets with districts will shape the role of the planet in its empire. An heavily urbanized planet will be densely populated, supporting numerous buildings and specialist pops such as researchers. So no longer will you be looking for tiles that generate research for, and basically they're saying whatever the hell that means. So yeah, that's probably quite interesting. But if you obviously cover the entire thing with pops, it means you won't be able to produce raw minerals that you need to grow your empire. Let's take a look. Yeah, no longer will we be seeing the adjacency bonuses. Those are all gone. Whether or not we want to have certain tile resources, those are gone as well. Then we have buildings. Now, buildings in Le Guin are facilities that can be built on your planet. They don't really impact districts all that much, but they do give passive bonuses to your empire. So you can have research labs being built everywhere. You can have certain population types being built in certain buildings. So in the example we have here is civilian manufactories generates new jobs for every 20 infrastructure, and then you generate artisans, whatever that means, most likely from the pops from the population district or the urban districts that can then be worked to death to make good goods and all that stuff. So luxury goods in this particular case. So you can then there's special buildings like the monuments. You can only have one of them, whereas other ones like the standard ones like minerals and mining and stuff like that, you can have as many as you want in your setup. So you want a mining planet, you build as many alloy foundries as you can. Buildings can still be upgraded to the more advanced versions, but there are fewer upgrades, and those will most likely require investment of rare and expensive resources, so it's more of an active choice rather than just clicking the little yellow button. Then infrastructure is part of that as well. So the more infrastructure you have, the more buildings you can build. City districts give far more infrastructure than other ones. So city setups will be able to build a ton of additional buildings, which is rather interesting. Then is in the current internal build, research labs and alloy foundries have the number of jobs they provide determined by infrastructure levels. So the higher your infrastructure level, the more jobs they generate, the more resources they generate, etc., etc., etc. In addition, buildings that provide resource-producing jobs, there's a wide variety that provide for the material and social needs of your population, such as luxury housing for your upper-class pops. Yes, there are population strata, entertainment buildings for happiness, and law enforcement for against unrest and crime. But of course, those will just be suppressed as they should be. Densely populated worlds require more such buildings, such as Necromunda. This is the example I have in my head. But yeah, the Gwyn is going to be fascinating. A complete and total overhaul of the way planets work and how they're executed in the game. I am really, really curious on how this is going to go. And what we've seen so far with the Twitter teasers, so to speak, is already looking exceptionally good. And I'm really, really curious on where this is going to go. And also when it's going to be released, because we do not know when or where or how that is going to happen. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up here. There will be 3 more of these Dev Diaries talking about Planetary Rework, and after that we will most likely see what the future holds in terms of expansion. So that I wouldn't be surprised that expansion is not going to be announced for at least another month, but we shall see. Next time we're going to be talking about stratas, pop jobs, housing, and finally migration. I hope that you had a wonderful time here today. Feel free to give it a like and or subscribe. You gotta smash that like button, etc, etc. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take good care of yourselves, and as always, each other.